Straight all day.
You're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, we're not done. You get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together to a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is sales over skills. Sales over skills. And this is going to go hand in hand with what we talked about in yesterday's episode. So if you did not listen to that episode, I would suggest you go listen to it now so that you understand what I'm talking about here. This could be a standalone, but listening to yesterday's episode first will help you understand a lot better in context what I'm going to talk about here today. Now, before I get into that, let me tell everybody that I have a daily motivation text message that I send out every single day, free of charge, to everyone who's in my texting community. So that means you probably want to receive that daily motivation text. All you had to do to get it is text me at the following number, 305-384-6894. I'll send it to you free of charge, straight to your phone every single day, guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. My number, once again, 305-384-6894. Now, this topic here today, sales over skills. I touched on this a lot in yesterday's episode. The topic was the business show. Understand that you are in the business of getting your show out there. Whatever your show or art is, you're in the business of getting it out there to the people who need it, not necessarily in the business of doing your art, whatever that thing is. We talked about that in episode 1547, the show that you're in, show business. Now, this topic, sales over skills, means exactly what the title says. And this message, I'm going to be honest, this message is going to be a tough pill for many of you to swallow, depending on your position in your respective market. This is going to be a tough one to swallow, especially for those of you who see yourselves as artists. And not only do you see yourself as an artist, and you are of the belief that because you are so dedicated to and good at your art, that things should just fall in place business-wise because of how good you are at your art. That people should be willing to compensate you better just because you are good at your art. And maybe right now you are frustrated because you are really good at your art, yet you are not receiving the returns on investment, your investments of time, attention, energy, and focus that you would expect given the quality of your art. That's who this message is directed towards here today. And those of you who may already understand this, you should still listen to it so you can check me and let me know if I missed anything or if I got anything wrong. Today's episode is about understanding what you think gets your game seen, heard, and known versus what actually gets your game seen, heard, and known. And often, as we talked about yesterday, and we will talk about this again in the future, it is not necessarily your ability to do the thing that gets you seen, heard, and known. Again, contrary to popular belief. Point number one. Topic once again today is sales over skills. I was recently reading a book by an author who I admire and I like. I'd read this guy's stuff before. I'm not going to say who the author was, but I read his stuff before. I read his articles. I read some of his emails. I've heard him on interviews and stuff. He had written other books that I have read and I liked. I'm on his email list, get his stuff. So I got this guy's new book, at least one of his newest books. But about a third of the way into the book, I'm reading it and I'm like, this guy is not saying anything new. He's not saying anything unique. This book is, it wasn't a bad book, but he wasn't really saying anything. When I read somebody's book, I want to learn something. When I read somebody's book, I want to put the book down and take notes. I want to put the book down and write down an idea. I want to put the book down and say, damn, you know what? I need to apply that to my life right now. I can apply that to my business right now. You know what? That's a new habit I need to pick up right now. Or you know what? That's something that I had thought about in the past, but I got away from it, but I'm glad I read it in this book because it's reminding me that I need to start doing that again. Or that thing he said is not a new idea to me, but the way he presented it made me think about it in a different way. And you know what? I might start approaching it differently just because I heard him say that. That's what I want whenever I read somebody's book. Doesn't matter whose it is. And those are the things that I aim to do when you read any one of my books. But I'm reading this guy's book. I'm a third of the way through, and it wasn't producing any of those responses from me. And I started to wonder, why I had even bought this guy's book in the first place. And my answers led to today's episode. My realization was the following. My purchase of this man's book had absolutely nothing to do with the material inside of the book. I didn't buy the book because it was a great book on the inside, because how would I know how good the book was? I wouldn't know until I'd actually purchased it. I had to buy it to read it after all, right? The reason that I bought this guy's book was not because of the quality of the writing of this particular book. Now, yes, I told you I've read his other stuff and heard him before. So I had a trust that he was going to give me something enlightening, but that's not a guarantee that it's going to be enlightening. I bought this guy's book based on what I just told you, based on his brand, based on my perception of who he is and what he brings to the table and what he's done in the past and how I feel about his work. That's the reason why I ordered his book. It had nothing to do with what was actually in it, again, because I would never know. It was like a surprise inside. I wouldn't know until I actually get it. My relationship with him as a reader to him as an author is why I bought his book. The way that he talked about the book, and I think it was an email that he sent out telling people about his book, and the way that he talked about it moved me to action of actually going and ordering it. That's how he got me to read his book. Now, the quality of his writing and how good of a writer he actually is, regardless of what I tell you here today, even if I told you who it was, has very little to do with how well his book's going to do business-wise. Let me say that sentence once more. How good of a writer this author is has very little to do with how well his book is going to perform market-wise. In other words, how much money he's going to make from his book is not really about how good of a writer he is. Now, yes, given, once his book comes out, if people really, really love it, they will leave positive reviews and they'll tell a friend, and word of mouth, and the book could spread a lot via word of mouth because the book is just so amazing and the people just can't not tell anybody about it. That is possible. And there's also possible on the other end of the spectrum, the book could be so terrible in the eyes of some readers that they're going to tell their friends not to buy it. And they'll go leave a 0-star review on Amazon trashing the book, telling how terrible the book is. And nobody should ever read this. It's a complete waste of time. It reads like a second grader wrote it, something like that. Both of those are possible. But really, the thing that's going to sell that book is this author's ability and willingness to execute on selling and marketing his book. And that goes for every other author out there, every other speaker, every other car salesperson, every other landscaper, every other tree cutter, every other house painter, every other construction person, every other fill in the blank of what you do for a living. It is really about your ability and willingness to execute on a marketing and sales strategy that sells your stuff. Now, once you get to do it, yes, word of mouth can help. Yes, testimonials can help. Yes, having social proof can and will help. But you will always still be selling and marketing your stuff. And guess what? Word of mouth, testimonials, and social proof are. They are forms of marketing. And marketing leads to selling. Marketing is just the relationship that you have with your audience. I talked about this in episode 1515. You are a marketer. That was, let me make sure that's the right episode. Yes, episode 1515. You are a marketer. Most recently, I talked about marketing in episode 1768. If you need money, here's how to raise your value in the market. You can listen to that right now. Episode 1835. The 3 marketing traffic strategies and how to use each one. Episode 1897. Marketing is a lifetime job. And episode number 1364, I talked about rejection marketing, how you draw some people in by turning other people away. That's one that a lot of you thought leaders need to start using ASAP, so you stop sounding like everybody else. The whole point, I'm still on point number 1 here. The topic once again today is sales over skills. Is his ability to sell this book, or how many books he sells, has nothing to do with how good his writing is. But many of you who are authors think your book's going to sell because the writing's good. No, it's not. Because how's anybody going to know? They got to buy it. And this is true even after people read it and review it, because even though I just told you, I'm going to contradict myself with this very point right here. I just told you that word of mouth can help this book sell more. It can help it sell less if people don't like it. But here's the thing. Even after people read the book and they go to leave a review of the book, unconsciously, if you are a fan of this author, as I am, even if I read through this entire book, and I'll tell you what ended up happening when I finished the book. I read through the entire book, and let's say I don't see or hear anything that's really enlightening, nothing really groundbreaking, nothing really different or new. I'm like, this book was okay. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrible. It was just okay. It's in one ear and out the other. I'll forget about it as soon as I'm done with it. Even if I thought that, because of my relationship to the author, liking him, liking his work, liking the books that he's written in the past, I probably would not trash his book on Amazon, or I wouldn't make a YouTube video trashing this guy's book. Why? Because I like him. I'm not going to trash him. And if I am predisposed to not like him, guess what? Even if I thought the book was good, I'll go trash it on Amazon. I might not even read the book and go trash it on Amazon. You see people do this all the time. If a person is famous enough, someone will go on Amazon and trash your book if they don't like you without even reading your book. And if they do like you, they'll go on Amazon and talk good about you without even reading your book. This is what people do. What do we call this? This is not the internet did not create this. The internet just exacerbated it and gave people a space for it. We call this human nature. When you like someone, you will find positive things to say around and about anything that they do, even if it's objectionable and questionable. And if you don't like someone, you will find a reason to say something negative and trash them, even if what they did is completely objectively positive. This is how human beings are, and none of us is immune to this. Some people are more susceptible than others, but none of us is immune to it. If you like the author, you're going to leave a positive review of the book, even if you think the book was just okay. Even now, I like this author, and though his book didn't give me any breakthroughs, at least at the point that I started thinking up this episode, I would not bash him. I wouldn't bash the book, because I like this guy. And this matters a whole lot. It matters more than my or your objective assessment of the material. Many of us think that we make objective assessments of anything that we buy, anything that we do, any person that we look at, anything we give an opinion on. We all think we're so damn objective. None of us is objective. No human being is objective. We are all very, very subjective. We are all very emotionally driven. Again, some more than others. And then what we do is we make these subjective decisions, emotionally driven decisions. And then what we do is we come up with logical reasons to defend them, so that if someone asks us, we can give ourselves a logical reason that makes sense, when really it's not our logical minds that made the decision in the first place. It's our subconscious, it's our emotions. This matters a whole lot. 90% of the game that I'm giving you right now is this point right here. 90% of the game is understanding that when people have a positive view of you, then the game becomes super duper easy. It's like you're running downhill. It doesn't even take any energy. You're going to have momentum anyway. Once people agree with you and they believe you, they buy into you, they know you, like you, and trust you, as long as you don't do anything to screw it up, they're going to stay in a positive state with you. This is how it works. This is 90% of the game right here. It is not about your skills. Notice I haven't said anything about skills in this whole first point. Now let's move on to point number 2, because we're not done. Today's topic, once again, is sales over skills. Number 2, your skills do not and will not matter until or unless you get in the room. Let me say that one again, make sure you heard it. Your skills do not and will not matter until or unless you get in the room. That's when your skills start mattering. You have to sell to get yourself in the room. That's when they actually start mattering. Until then, they don't matter. And if you are a nobody, meaning you're not famous in your space, you don't have to be world famous, but if you're not famous in your space, i.e. you're a nobody, you better be really, really good once you get in the room if you want future opportunities. In other words, if you're able to sell your way into the room, not based off of your name, but based off of, you had some game, and you were able to squeeze in there based on game, or at least based on the appearance of having game, you're going to get a shot. You're going to get one shot. You better be good with that one shot so that you get a second, third, fourth, and fifth shot. You got to be good if you're not trading off of your name. To give you an example, your host, me, I am not world famous, let's say in the speaking industry. We'll just use that as an example. In the speaking industry, if I land a speaking gig, it is because somebody heard me somewhere else in the past, or because I put myself out there and I was able to sell myself in such a way that someone said, okay, I never heard of this guy, but the way that he's presenting his game sounds good enough let's give this guy a shot and let's see if he's any good. Now, of course, they can look at my website, they can see my materials, they can listen to this podcast, they can look at videos of me speaking in the past, but you'd be surprised that some of these industries are very archaic in the way that they look at things, and they don't know you. No matter how much evidence you present, it might be hard to convince them. But let's say I'm able to finagle my way into getting an opportunity, all right, to getting a shot. I'm not famous. Nobody is coming to the conference and buying a ticket because they heard that Dre Baldwin is going to be speaking, right? It's not like Magic Johnson or Troy Aikman is speaking when they say my name. So when I get in a room and I get on the stage, the people are not in the room just because so they can say, hey, I was in the same room as Dre Baldwin, because they don't know me. It's not like they can take a picture and say, hey, son, here's Magic Johnson. Hey, husband, wife, here's name somebody else who's famous. Here's Oprah giving a speech. All right. It doesn't matter what they say because they're so famous. People are just happy to be in a room with them. When I get on stage, it does matter what I say because I'm not trading on that. I'm trading on actual skill. So if and when you're able to create an opportunity for yourself based on skill, you damn well better be good. Because if you're not good, you will not get a second opportunity, at least not in that space. And the problem with that is eventually you're going to run out of spaces to get an opportunity in because you've got your one shot at all of them and you were terrible at all of them. They're not calling you back. They're not asking you back. So if you're not famous, you better be damn good. Now, if you're not famous and you are good, here's what happens. Now you get another opportunity and another one and another one. And eventually you can stair step your way to actually having some relative fame in that space, simply because you've proven yourself over and over and over again. And many people have done this. But once you get in, the more known you are, the less being good matters. Let me say that one again. And for all of you out there, again, who are so focused on your skills, on your game, on your art, and this is the Work on Your Game show, I'm telling you this is a truth of life. Understand it. This is part of the game. The more known you are in a space, the less good you actually have to be to get another opportunity. You heard me correctly. Now, all the preaching that people give you about hard work, it only matters when you're a nobody who has no clout whatsoever. And just in case any of you is misconstruing what the Work on Your Game message is about, in episode 1139, I told you it takes more than hard work to be a success in life, in case any of you didn't hear me say that. In episode number 618, I told you that your hard work may not be enough. In episode 728, I told you that you have been lied to. Hard work does not beat talent. In episode 1112, I told you hard work is not an achievement. So I've told you these things many times, just in case any of you didn't know. If you might be new around here, maybe you forgot something that I said in the past. Even though my brand is called Work on Your Game, understand game does not just